Bonjour, Anine. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the snowy, cold morning. This morning, blowing wind. I'd like to thank you all for coming to the council meeting today on December 4th. I hope everybody's getting their Christmas shopping done. We will call the meeting to order at 9:06 a.m. And as always, we start our meetings out in a good way with our spiritual advisor, Vern Adams. Miigwech, Vern. Miigwech, Vern. Next, we have roll call.
Cathy Chavers.
Here.
Tara Gishuk.
Here.
Shane Drift.
Oman Ongum.
Perry Drift.
Ninshaw Mapapaya.
Robert Moyer.
Here.
Okay, next we have approval of the agenda. Oh, before I get going with that, I just want to introduce to everybody that, for those that don't know, we have Miranda Lilia serving as our interim executive director. We have posted for the executive director position, and Miranda is graciously filling in for us during this transition. So welcome, Miranda. Okay, next we have approval of the agenda. Any additions or corrections or deletions?
We do have one, we do have one addition. We'd like to add resolution 49-2025 under Teresa Drift.
Who's that going under?
Teresa Drift.
Teresa Drift?
We'll put that as C. 49-2025 resolution. Any other additions? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the agenda with that addition?
Move to approve.
Moved by Tara. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Next, we have approval of meeting minutes from October 2nd, 2024.
I have some things I'd like to point out regarding the meeting minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
As we know, recently the email from Jeff regarding the consent agenda and the poll votes. And what we learned through, actually what I should give acknowledgement to the band member who raised the question about the poll votes, the consent agenda, and also Robert's Rules of Orders and how things are to be conducted. Now, with that being said, I sent an email to the council and also to the tribal attorney, Jeff. And when a poll vote happens and a council member or council members objects to it, it cannot be part of the consent agenda. It needs to be its own individual item on the RTC meeting agenda. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because we had one, or even if they abstain, because I brought that up as well. And now we have three, as letter H, we have 3, 4, 1 against, and 0 abstaining. So as we go forward, we need to make sure that when somebody objects to it, a council member objects to it, that it's moved on to its own individual line item. And when we go scroll past the consent agenda, and we're talking about with Bob DeGros, Superintendent of the Voyageurs National Park, and I asked for pictures or documentation regarding our band members hunting and fishing after the 1866 treaty was signed. And so far, I haven't received anything. Did anybody else receive anything? Any emails, any information?
No, not that I'm aware of.
You know, and I saw him again recently, and he said he was still working on it, but we need to get that data, you know, for the 1866 treaty.
I don't know how to say it, but the 1866 treaty, I didn't know really much about it till the past couple of years. And, you know, growing up in Voyageurs National Park area, going fishing, using the resources, just as a kid and with my aunties, my mom, you know, I don't remember anything about doing a license, so, you know, or being ever, you know, asked if I was doing it illegally or illegally or whatnot. And, you know, I think this is something, you know, I thought was just, man, we should have those rights. And, you know, I knew the 1854 treaty, and I really didn't know about the 1866, and just haphazardly, we were up there fishing, and I don't think we were buying license and stuff, and I'd like it to keep it that way, and it should be that way for all of us. Anyways, thank you.
To add on to that, you know, like I've been saying in past meetings, is that with the 1866 treaty, our people were hunting and fishing before that was even a treaty area. After that 1866 treaty was signed, our people continued to hunt and fish in that area. So that's how they interpret the treaty, that we would continue on. Granted that the treaty itself doesn't necessarily give us rights, but also doesn't take away our rights. If you look at the 1854 treaty, it's basically all it does is ensuring that the treaty rights continue on. It doesn't grant or take away any treaty rights. And that's my interpretation of the 1866 treaty, that they're still there, the rights are still there. We just got to get them established. Thank you.
Any more questions or comments on the meeting minutes? If I see none or hear none, so do we have a motion to approve the October 2nd, 2024 meeting minutes?
Move.
Moved by Shane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Next, we have the November 6, 2024 meeting minutes, and we will have to table them as they are not ready. So do we have a motion to table the November 6, 2024 meeting minutes?
Move.
Moved by Tara. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Next, we have the consent agenda, and I'll read that off for our people online and our audience. Approved letter to Canadian Museum of History regarding the repatriation of sacred items in Albert Reagan collection. That was passed 300. Approved agreement with ACET Incorporated to provide facilitation services 400. Approved 2 105L lease renewals and authorizing Cathy to sign 400. Approved 10 105L lease renewals and authorizing Cathy to sign 400. Approved resolution number 43-2025, removal of Jessa Boyer as the Bois Forte Cannabis Regulatory Commission Director 400. Approved resolution number 44-2025, bans participation in the EPA Environmental Justice Community Change Grant 400. Approved resolution number 45-2025, adoption of vault operations at Fortune Bay under Gaming Commission and Gaming Ordinance 400. Approved resolution number 46-2025, amending the Bois Forte Cannabis Regulatory Ordinance, and resolution number 47-2025, appointment of Sadie Whitebird as the Bois Forte Cannabis Regulatory Commission Director. And last, approved purchase of 2 vans for CHR program 400 on both of those. I'm sorry, I forgot to give the vote. So that is the consent agenda.
I'd just like to point out that, it's good that we have Miss Sadie Whitebird on board with the tribe and working as on the cannabis business and the regulatory requirements that we need in place for us in order to open up our dispensary. And also that the 2 new vans for the CHR program, I know that they are greatly needed. Thank you.
Okay, any questions or comments on the consent, Robert?
Yeah, I'd just like to comment on the approved letter to Canadian Museum of History. I was able to go see these artifacts and with Jalen, and it was odd. These are a lot of items that should not have ever left our reservation. I was trying to read a lot of the history of Albert Reagan trying to sell these things and bartering and doing whatever to make money off these items and stuff. So I'm very happy that the museum is working with us to get these items back. They've been in probably like storage for so many years without being touched, and being able to pick them up and hold them, and it was fun. It felt good. They need to be home, and hopefully we get them here. Thank you.
Big witch, Robert. Thank you for that. If no other comments, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move.
Moved by Shane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Next, we have Mr. Wesley Willoughby with the introduction of the new BLM District Manager, Pamela Mathies, and discuss BLM management priorities for Lake Vermilion and possible partnership opportunities. Welcome. Right here, sir and ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, and thank you very much for letting us join you today. My name is Wesley Willoughby. I'm the District Archaeologist and Tribal Liaison for the BLM Northeastern States District based in Milwaukee. Earlier this year, we had a new district manager join us. She's getting familiar with all of the things that we do in the district. But as a lot of you probably know, we own approximately 86 islands in Lake Vermilion and some of the surrounding lakes. But I wanted to introduce the new district manager, Pamela Mathis, to you and start the conversation, talk about some of the projects that we've had ongoing and some of our plans and see if we can find some projects that we may want to collaborate on.
Thank you, Wes. Madam Chair, thank you very much, council members. We appreciate the opportunity to be on your agenda. My name is Pamela Mathis. I'm the district manager for the Bureau of Land Management. The northeastern states comprises 20 states east of the Mississippi, so it's a pretty big district. And we have, most of our workload is subsurface minerals in the eastern states. We have two groups of recreation areas that are fairly well known. One is in Virginia, about 30 miles south of DC. And our other big recreation and public lands here is right here in this area, Lake Vermilion. And so we are dedicated to protecting and enhancing these areas. There is one particular program update I would very much like to share with the council this morning. As you may or probably know from previous environmental analysis and cooperation with us, the Superior National Forest requested from the Department of Interior BLM to withdraw that forest from future mineral exploration or drilling. Twin Metals sued the Department of Interior, and that lawsuit remains in federal courts. Oral arguments will be heard on that lawsuit January 13th. So there would be updates coming relatively soon. Additionally, yesterday, the Bureau of Land Management from Washington issued a formal letter to the Superior Forest asking them to formalize in writing their consent or their non-consent on the environmental analysis and the proposal from Twin Metals. So we are seeking a written response from the Forest Service on that matter. So those are two very timely updates to share with you on that project. Additionally, we are slated in our district, so our 20 states, to create and update a resource management plan that is very much like a county would have a land use plan, but we manage resources, so we call it a resource management plan. The preparation for that plan involves a lot of surveys and analysis, and most importantly, cooperation and collaboration with tribes. When we do any type of environmental analysis, I have a motto, which is the tribes are invited in two different ways. There's obviously Section 106 that we take very seriously, and in addition to that, there is the opportunity to join the agencies at the table in cooperator status. And cooperator status is only given to governmental agencies. And it is a seat at the table during the actual analysis. And so I would like to convey to the council that I'm very serious about that, and we will always give you the opportunity to have cooperator status in addition to 106. We are also very dedicated to telling you about projects as soon as we hear about them, and not once an environmental assessment starts to take place. We think it's pretty important that you know when we know what's coming about. And in that regard, one of my questions with Wes and your TIPO is, how would you like to receive that information? Do you want a monthly email from me? Do you want us on your agenda on a quarterly or monthly basis? Or how can we serve you best to keep you informed and be very genuine and authentic about that? The other big item is that throughout our district, we are looking for opportunities for willing land sellers who may want their family destiny to have public lands come into the federal system if they would like that. And typically the way that this works is a non-governmental entity seeks donations, purchases the land, holds it for 2 years, and then offers it to the Bureau of Land Management through the Land and Water Conservation Fund. The Land and Water Conservation Fund is now a permanent part of the federal system, and so there are annual appropriations from Congress to purchase lands that would then be perpetually protected. We are exploring avenues in this region, if there are any willing sellers, so that we may have potentially a small visitor center. We would really like to see permanent staff up here, which also can be tribal staff, and help us protect those islands, because it is hard from Milwaukee to get up here. So those are our main items. I don't want to hijack your agenda, but we are here to ask or to answer any questions that you may have about any of our ongoing operations.
Well, congratulations on the position, and thank you so much for being here today. Just for the audience's information, BLM is Bureau of Land Management, and so it's a partnership that we have with BLM. And I know that our TIPOs have been working with BLM for quite a long time. So does anybody have any comments or questions? Shane, go ahead.
Thank you for pointing out what that acronym means. I thought it meant bacon, lettuce, mayo. Just kidding. Thank you, and welcome for coming. Just going over your guys' priorities, and especially around the Lake Vermilion area and the projects and all that, and seeing stuff that you guys are doing, or look what you're going to be doing and all that, is that the federal government trust responsibility is in the form of a trust evaluation in which the Secretary of the Interior checks to see if any trust assets, such as land or water, are in imminent jeopardy. And seeing a lot of the stuff that you're listing here is basically similar to what the Interior is supposed to be doing. We have a number of lakes that are impaired or starting to become impaired. That's a huge concern, because once these lakes start to become impaired, that's going to affect tourism, which our casino and hotel rely upon heavily. I brought this up before when we met with the state down there a couple of years ago, is that our TIPO officers should be included when when the county or the state or whoever is looking at okaying a site to be turned into a gravel pit. And that the TIPO officer should be involved in that process to assess that if there's something there or something, or it's clear. And that should be a requirement. I'd like to know any and all environmental assessments that you have done within the past 5 years. If you could turn that over to us at Boyce Fort, that'd be great. And another thing too that I've been pushing for is that once we as a tribe, as Boyce Fort, get our sacred sites listed amongst us as a tribe, but also get them recognized and listed with the state and also with your agency as well. So when they start to develop the land, they can't say, we didn't know that this was a sacred site. No, it's listed. There's a lot of sacred sites within our 1854 treaty area and also the 1866 treaty area. One of them, namely, is by Geen Hill. There's a battleground there. And another one, too, is Ely Island on Lake Vermilion. They used to have Medewan ceremonies there. When the Europeans first started coming around here, they listed our people as tribes. Well, they were not tribes. They were staying in their individual clans. So the clans stayed all over. You know, there's I think there's a 2,000 to 4,000-year-old lower village up by Ely. You know, and so stuff like that, we need to get recognized and listed and protected. You know, and there's a lot of sites out there that we don't know yet that'll probably come to light in the next 5 years. You know, and but that's just like a small amount that I would be, I'll be bringing up more as we continue forward. Thank you.
Any other comments? I see that you're looking at planning to hire a seasonal ranger to be stationed at Lake Vermilion. Do you know if that ranger will be acclimated to the history of the area and the Lake Vermilion reservation? And
We have put in a funding request for 2.
Oh, nice.
And we do not yet have the money. However, when we do these actions, what my goal has been is what is termed a career seasonal. So they are a full-time employee and they have federal benefits, even though they would not work all year, pretty much
Right.
predicated on the weather. We seek very much to try to hire local people.
Nice.
And so I mentioned tribal members as well, certainly. And we do have some authorities that would allow some of that. We could also conceivably go into a stewardship agreement with you,
Okay.
where we could do something that way. So I am hoping for funding to come through, and our ultimate vision is to have either shared office space somewhere in this area, or we might have land acquisition where we could actually, you know, have a couple of our boats and our employees there,
Okay.
and have good stewardship of the islands.
Great.
Sincere, yeah.
Great. Sounds good. Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions?
Yes, one last one is that if you could send us a list of the wild rice waters that you know about within the 1854 treaty area and the 1866 treaty area, that'd be great.
And what was the waters?
Wild
Wild
rice.
rice,
Okay, okay.
Monoman.
Okay.
Well, we look forward to working with you and look forward to all this great stuff you're doing here. And look, you know, some of the things I want to mention are native plant habitat restoration, seed collection. They're trying to bolster, restore native plant populations. I like this, collected blueberries, summer 2024. But yeah, there's a lot of things out there that need to be replaced or put
Right.
back in because they've been gone for a while, and we really appreciate the efforts.
Thank
So-
you very much, Chairwoman. And any other ideas you have, please let us know, and we will come up with a method to keep you
Sure.
informed on a routine basis.
And we'll, once we get our new executive director in place too, we will also try to set up that, whether it be quarterly or how we want that information sent to us. So we'll get that finalized once we get our new executive director.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Chi-Miigwech, for making the trip
Yeah, thank you
in
very
this
much.
beautiful weather.
It's important.
Miigwech. Okay, next we have Will Manty with the update on Alzheimer's disease research project. Good morning, sir.
Bonjour, Chairwoman Chavers and council members. Thank you for having me here today to present at your tribal council meeting. It's great to see you, and I'm very much looking forward to coming back up in person more often. Just a quick introduction. My name is Will Manti, and again, my last name is very difficult to pronounce. It's like a man wearing a tie, or like Manti Te'o, and was a college football fan. But don't worry about that part. I'm a neurologist working at University of Minnesota, and Anna Marie Hill, the former executive director of MIAC, is part of our team, and I think she's tuned in now too. And you may remember us from back in fall of 2021 and summer of 2022. We had the MRI semi-truck right outside of Health Services. And since that time, we've been down in Minneapolis with the very generous help of your urban office, Jackie Wilson has been absolutely outstanding in helping us to recruit participants. And the reason I'm here today is just to provide a brief update on where we're at. So we have over 300 participants, which is absolutely amazing, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be at that number. And so we have enough data at this point to start analyzing the results and coming to present to your tribal council what those results are. And kind of going back to the original purpose of our research, it is to understand the causes of dementia and also help to make sure that Native communities benefit from new Alzheimer's disease blood tests, which are sensitive to things like ancestry and type 2 diabetes. As similar to everything that we do, 100% of this project is owned by Bois Forte, and the ultimate decision-making power over our research results and whether or not to publish them is the ultimate decision of the tribal council. And so I'm very much excited to be traveling up throughout 2025 to present these results of this upcoming analysis. And so that's kind of a short and brief update of where we're at. And I, again, wanted to say Chimigwech for all of your help and all of your kindness to make this research possible. It is by far and away the most rewarding work that I've been a part of my entire career. And as always, I'm open to questions both now and afterwards. And if you have any questions, always feel free to email me, call me, text me, whatever your preferred method of communication is. And I'll end there. So yeah, again, miigwech for having me and looking forward to being up more often in 2025 to present the results of our research.
Miigwech. Out of your 300 participants, I have a question. Are those all Bois Forte, the tribe, or is it other tribal members from other reservations?
Yeah, so I don't have the exact number off the top of my head. The majority are from Bois Forte, but there are a substantial number that are from other tribal nations. And so we don't exclude members of other tribal nations if they want to come into, let's say, the urban office to participate. And as you probably know much better than I do, the urban office serves kind of a wide variety of Native elders in Minneapolis. And so we do see a fair number who stop by our work area and ask about the project, and we welcome them to participate if they'd like.
Great. I know that a lot of our elders participated in the project, and it's really nice to see because we don't know a lot really about dementia or Alzheimer's, and it's nice to see a specific one geared towards Native Americans, so we understand it better. So, any questions or comments for Will?
I have a few.
Yeah.
Hi, Will. Tara Gajik, Secretary Treasurer. I have a few questions about the participants also. You said a majority of them are Bois Forte, maybe in the urban area, Minneapolis, St. Paul, or is it urban Duluth and like Iron Range north of, or is it Vermilion sector, Net Lake sector?
Yeah, thank you for asking the question. Again, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. When we first did this research project, and we're coming up in fall 2021 and summer of 2022, there I think that maybe over 90% were Bois Forte band members. In the Minneapolis area, we're working out of the urban office, and there, again, I'm not sure of the exact percentage off the top of my head, but basically, it's all elders from, I would say, the greater Twin Cities metro area. So I haven't personally seen a lot of participants, let's say, coming down from Duluth or coming down from the Iron Range or coming down from other areas of Minnesota. It's been predominantly in the Twin Cities metro. We've also been working with BD Gain, which is a assisted living facility in South Minneapolis that primarily serves American Indian elders, and those elders are coming from a variety of different tribal nations, both in Minnesota and even outside of Minnesota. So those participants sometimes, again, come by the urban office, and if someone stops by our work area and asks to participate, as long as they're a enrolled member of a federally recognized tribal nation, they're eligible to participate. But yeah, to answer your question briefly, the overwhelming majority, again, I would guess something over 90% of participants in the urban office are coming from the Twin Cities metro and not from more rural Minnesota or from Duluth.
Okay, the reason I ask that is, I don't know what kind of data that you're collecting, like if you're collecting, if you're just collecting the history and maybe biology of certain individuals, but I'm just thinking about access to natural medicines, access to our blueberry patches that we have out here, because, blueberries is a really good indicator of, it helps the brain. So my mind is thinking in going that way is on reservation here, maybe particularly Net Lake, it might be a little bit more easier to access natural medicines and natural foods than it is in the Twin Cities area. And I was just wondering if you take those into consideration. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking that. And I always try to maybe remind myself and remind everyone else that is generous enough to participate in our study that, I'm, at the end of the day, a biomedical doctor in the sense that, the things traditionally taught in kind of Western geared biomedical medicine, this idea of, which I say a reductionist approach to medicine, like molecules and compounds and things that we ingest to go after those molecules and compounds. And that I lack, that knowledge of native traditional medicine. And I lack a lot of other viewpoints of holistic medicine. But that's something that I'm definitely interested in and I think is very important to talk to our participants about, because healthcare, as we know, we live in a broken healthcare system in the United States, and there's a lot of problems. And the drugs that we have available only have very limited benefits with sometimes a lot of risks. And having that other type of medicine, I think, is extremely important. And I'll be very interested in talking to you or anyone else in this area more about, so that we can open the door for our participants who are interested in that type of medicine to have access and to benefit from things like you mentioned. Blueberries is a good example, that has antioxidant properties and that has other vitamins that at the end of the day help to restore bodily function. Yeah, I think that's a really important point you're making, and I'd again be very interested in opening that up more, because again, right now we're kind of limited to just the biomedical focus of medicine.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Will.
Any other questions or comments for Will? Hearing none. Thank you for that update, Will. Very much
Thank you again for
appreciated.
having me. Looking forward to being up there in person in 2025.
Okay, look forward to seeing you. Miigwech.
Which.
Okay, next we have Amy Mason with discussion on land for solar farm project and request for public comment period. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, members of the council, everybody here taking time out of their day to participate in this meeting. So today I just want to put forth the request for the land that we would need to conduct the activities for our solar farm. I believe I submitted copies of the maps to you. This location was picked based off of the ability for us to interconnect two transmission lines with Lake Country Power. We will need, the original request was going to be for 20 acres. We did not get the full funding amount for the project, so we are scaling back. We would probably be looking at more like 12 acres for this project. We want to make sure that the public has an opportunity to provide any feedback or comments. And then I know that Fortune Bay has a request because they'd like to do some connection with the ATV trails, and that kind of intersects with some of this property that is currently in discussion and up for approval.
So Amy, right now, you're submitting this as a proposal, and you want to put it out for public comment so everybody can comment on the solar project, plus also the land where the solar project is.
Yes, and primarily because we do know that somebody is currently using the land. It's like they've got a shooting range that is set up there, so we want to ensure that we are not impacting somebody else's ability to use that land if that is what is chosen to do with it, right? So I just want to be respectful of the request for where we're putting this. We are limited with where we can put larger scale projects like this because we do not have interconnection here in Net Lake. If we had the ability to interconnect here in Net Lake, that would be our preference.
Any questions?
Do you have any alternatives in mind, just in case, or?
We had looked at a couple of spots that might have been across the road, so across from 169, kind of kitty corner from the Y store. We've got a couple of locations that we had looked at, but we would have to do a lot more clearing. This spot has some open space that we would not necessarily need to pull down a lot of trees, worry about a lot of boulders, anything like that. So.
Yeah, the only thing what you said about hunting, I know people that probably go back there, I don't know how often, whatnot, but that is I think people frequently actually hunt from our band members around in that area sometimes too. So, reaching out to the public to comment on this is a great move, and thank you.
Questions I have is that, looking at the map, and it's not clearly shown what section it is, because I'm looking at this one here. And you have the Y store and all that right there. You have the road coming in from Fortune Bay, going through Fortune Bay, coming from Fortune Bay. This one, or that one?
There's that one. And then if you kind of overlay this, so you see this blob? That's this spot right
Back
here.
there.
So we're looking at this spot up here. Because those power lines are running in here, and we have to be able to connect. The substation is down here.
Okay, now with that, what hoops do we have to jump through? Would it be the township, the county, and the state that we'd have to jump through their hoops to get this done?
We will have to have everything surveyed. So that's kind of the next step. Once we have the land option, then we would be going through surveying, figuring out all of the rights of ways. We would have to do an interconnection request with Lake Country Power. And so there's a whole series of things that will have to happen in order to do that.
So once you start that process with that, how long is it going to take for the final process, actually when the process is done and says, yeah, we can move forward with it?
So we anticipate that this project from start to finish could take up to 3 years, depending on how quickly we can get started in the spring. If we can start surveying potentially in, say, January, February timeframe, then that puts us in a position to move forward. We will have timing requirements for materials and all of the prep work that needs to be done, materials that need to be brought in. But sometimes if you can be working a lot of those aspects in tandem, then you can move that project along faster. One of the current things in discussion is whether or not we should be working with Red Lake at the same time, because they will be putting in a very similar system in Red Lake because they receive funding in the same grant opportunity, and then utilizing the fact that they're going to be building a site similar in size, similar in funding amount, and utilizing some economy of scale as far as contracting and purchasing.
I think, as we move along with this process, I think one thing that would be good to do is to get maybe some of our a medicine man or a woman to go out there and to assess, what kind of plants are out there, so that they can identify, well, this plant here is here, and what we use them for, and list that. So in place in the future, we'll know exactly what's being dug up and all that.
If I had my phone in here, I could show you a little bit of a visual of what that currently looks like. A lot of it looks like, well, the stuff that is down here, so this all used to be farmland. So now this section here is a little bit wet with cattails, so we're trying to stay out of that area because that's more wetland. There's some scrub brush that's running along here and then along this back side. That's not to say that there are not additional things that are all around in here that would be beneficial or traditional medicinal use. So we can go through and we could do that. There are opportunities to do some plantings, so native plantings in between those rows to just kind of prevent other things from growing up. And that may be an opportunity to put some of that back. So it's kind of, we can look at those opportunities too if there's going to be a disruption and we need to kind of try and put back what we're taking out.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Amy, how long of a public comment period would you like?
We'd like a 30-day. If that seems too short, then, I mean, we could extend it. I know that some of the granting agencies are feeling pressured to show that you're pulling those funds. So what they want is they want us to pull those funds and actually utilize something at some point in time, just so our funding doesn't get taken back. So there's a little bit of a difference in what some people are saying. Some want to say that unless you're pulling the money, then you won't have it. But we're also told that as long as they obligate those funds, then you're fine. So if right now, all of our resubmission paperwork has been put in. And then in order to do the funding thing, I think we found out yesterday, we've got like a 30-page construction contract that needs to be looked at. And I think I already submitted that to Jeff Holt to look at.
Any other questions for Amy?
I have a couple. Well, actually just one really. Is the security, once, in 3 years when you have it, you got all your, you put the farm in, you put all the equipment in, everything's installed. What kind of security do you have in place for that?
So part of the budget amount is, one, it will be fenced. Most solar arrays are fenced. And then it will be monitored. We'll have camera security tied to that. So we already put that into our budget to ensure as best we can protect it. It's protected.
That's good, because my concern is going forward with how the nation has been with elections. I fear that Native-owned businesses or Native Bois Forte or any other nation, may come under attack, or may, any businesses that we have or try to make money off of, or any kind of resources, those kinds of things. So that's one thing that I'm trying to make sure that we do our due diligence in preventing anything from happening to our businesses, even though it's a solar farm and you're helping and that's regenerating, you never know.
That is very true. I was at a conference in Denver, and I think there was one presentation I listened to where they put in their smaller solar system and they did not fence it. And the immediate questions from the audience were, do you plan to put a fence around that? And that's just because everybody is interested in protecting it. It is an asset, and there's a lot of money that's involved in putting those systems together. So,
Thinking about that, with that deal with Lake Country Power, is it? Now, if that's not really set in stone, is it?
we cannot do anything till we put our interconnection paperwork together and start working on power purchase agreements. So that would be the next stage. So we have not done any of that because we need to do the design, the engineering design work in order to have all the information we need from an interconnection standpoint. And then on top of it, there's going to be some legal work that needs to be done in order to set up a power purchase agreement in order to sell that electricity.
I think that going forward with that, if that the deal doesn't work out, where it's in the mutual best interest of the tribe and then Lake Country Power, that can we relocate it somewhere where maybe if we have a growing facility on that end, more like basically connected to the growing facility and let's grow some weed.
I think the only problem we would have is the federal funding. But ideally, in situations where we would not have participation by the utility, which I do not have any indications of. I was at a board meeting with them last week, and they are still in support of our project. Obviously, there's agreements, legal agreements that have to be signed off on in order for that to be fully executed, but they are in support of our project. They do see the value in it. But in any instances where we cannot do connections just based off of location, then what we would be looking at is a project that would be more of a back of the meter application where we're more in like a microgrid island effect, powering something separately and utilizing that separately from the overall power grid.
Okay, thank you.
Kim?
Amy had referred to the 30-page application. Yesterday when we were on our meeting, I was emailing Dave Connor, the self-governance coordinator for Red Lake, asking him about theirs because the money wasn't showing up and they hadn't seen theirs either, so we were coordinating to see where it was. And he asked if we had started the 30-page application. And in the conversation I was having with him, it's the first application we'll be doing under what's called the Progress Act. And he says it's very time-consuming involved, and it's probably it's very similar to the whole application and construction process for the transit facility. So just to be prepared, it's not as easy as some of the other construction projects.
And they're still trying to figure out, since this is the first tribal electrification program grant, they still don't really 100% know what their processes and procedures are, so we're all kind of learning together.
This will be very interesting. We know through our transit program that, there's additional hurdles and things that need to be jumped, and so if this is similar to that, then you've got your work cut out for you.
You can do it, Amy.
I don't really have a choice. So it's in front of me. That's the goal. That's what we will do.
Wonderful. Any other comments or questions for Amy? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the solar farm project public comment period for 30 days?
I'll motion.
Motion by Perry.
Second.
Second by Shane. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
Miigwech, have a great day.
You too. Keep up the good work. Next we have Brian Whiteman Sr. and Kim Greiner. Approval of KLM invoice for payment. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Council. Well, what I have forth here is approval from the Council for a past invoice from the previous director. It's a mixer on top of the water tower on the hill here. It agitates the water to keep it from freezing.
Oh,
So that's what this is. And I've tried once before, but obviously we're here, so
It's under the ratification process because it wasn't followed through the proper procurement procedure. There wasn't a,
bidding.
there was, as far as I know, there's no contract.
no.
It was done. There was no purchase order issued, and so in the current the approved delegation of authority, if it's over $10,000 and there is no purchase order, they have to come to the tribal council for approval. I had talked to the previous director, and the original mixer was, I think, put under 2 directors ago.
Yeah.
And this, we need to go back and look, because talking to the previous director, he had mentioned that should have been warranty work because it didn't work from the first time they put it in. And I just haven't catch up to Brian yet since I've had that conversation, so.
So how would we determine that then? Did you say warranty?
Yeah, we have to find the other documents and
Yeah.
talk to the company.
But this one has already been installed, and so we need to take care of this, and then we'll see what.
Yeah, and they may
what
owe
kind
us
of
a
warranty.
refund.
Okay.
Yeah,
See what we can get back from that. So.
yeah. Because this is rather old, isn't it? It's from 23, November of 23.
With that being back that far in 23, is the funding that was supposed to be for this, or should have been for this, is it still there?
It has to be paid out of their current, it'll have to be paid out of 25 budget from the water and sewer programs.
And that, I'm pretty sure that'll be an allowable expense then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we need water to drink.
We need water. Well, thank you for bringing this to our attention, and if there's no more questions or comments, do we have a motion to approve the KLM invoice for payment in the amount of $14,700, but also looking at the warranty issue?
Yeah.
That needs to be addressed and looked at, so do we have a motion to?
Move.
Motion to approve made by Shane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Good, thank you. Keep up the good work, guys. Kim Greiner's next, so she will not be leaving her seat. Okay, Kim Greiner is next with the approval of the 2025 Christmas Fund Program and renewal of Laserfish subscription.
Yeah, I'm just pulling up my. So the first one, I believe, is the Christmas Fund program. This is a program that we've been running for, I don't know, about 10 years, maybe 8-10 years. And so employees can sign up for a contribution to a Christmas Club account at a financial institution of their choice. And if they contribute all the days or follow the rules, the council makes a 25% match up to $400. So kind of for the 24 stats, 85 employees started in the program, 70 qualified for the match, and of that, so of the 15 that were didn't qualify, 4 left employment, 4 canceled their payroll deductions, and 7 didn't qualify for the match because they were withdrawing from their Christmas Club account and not letting it accumulate. So employees deposited 128,092.20 of their own funds to the program, and 111,235.20 qualified for the match. And some people put more in than, you know, but we only match up to the $400 of the 25%. So someone might have a larger one. So, so the match for the RTC that they had funded last year for 24 was $25,266.75. The program is designed after what's called individual development accounts. Like when you work with a financial institution, you learn to put a little bit away each time, and then they match to make it a bigger impact. And so the rules are attached in that. We've had some employees come in and talk about it, and they're very appreciative of the program. And they were doing smaller, and then they were new, and they did a smaller amount, and they're like, wow, this really does work. I'm going to up it more, each year and stuff, so.
Okay, any questions for Kim on the Christmas fund program?
Yes, with the employees that took the money out before they could have or should have, do we know that the pay range that they're in? Are they on a low scale?
I have no idea.
I think that, we talked about this before. Actually, I brought it up, is that we got to look at increasing our minimum wage here on the reservation if we can, to higher, maybe a little higher if we can. And I think that we need to put that on a table for discussion, because, our band members, our employees, frontline employees, they're struggling. And we got to do something. We can't just sit and keep letting it go on and on and on. I think we need to put that on the table and discuss it.
We can do that. We can set up, Miranda, can you set up a meeting on that, please?
I just have one thing to add. With that statement, with Vice Chairman Drift's comments about we really need to look at our distribution of wealth too. Because I get it, like I want to raise our minimum wage too. But if we have higher salaries we have to contend with too that are ballooning, you have to look at the distribution of wealth too. That should be looked at, because it's not fair.
Okay, any other comments? Go ahead, Tara.
The history that you had for the 2024 Christmas Club, I was always told that it was brought up to kind of help and alleviate and compensate for the COLAs that were taken away at that time. Is that true?
Yeah, we went to this option because they had, and maybe Miranda can help me on the timing. We eliminated COLAs at one time, and then I don't know if we immediately did this or if it was like a year or two later. That's the part I just don't remember off the top of my head.
I don't recall if it was immediate, but I do know, I want to think that it was, because it was a program that we had previous volunteer for employees. And then it had quit for a few years there. And then when we were discussing COLA, I remember I brought it up and we were like, hey, that's, if we do a match, that would be really good. It would be less cost to the tribal government. It would promote employees starting to save, even if they put just a little bit away, they would get, a little bit of reward from the tribal government. I want to think it was pretty quickly after the COLAs were discontinued.
Yeah, we can get more history for the council and bring that back at a later date. But the time, because we only have one more payroll left in 24, and then what's the first payroll in 25 is like the first week of January. Is it like January 3rd or 4th?
It is January 3rd.
Yeah, and that's when they would start contributions for the 25 year.
I know that a couple of employees brought it up to me, you know, to try and bring back the COLA, and it's like, well, the tribe doesn't have the money to do that. You know, and I know that they, years ago, what they did was when they took that money from our casino, you know, and for that, and one thing I asked for was a resolution to be put in place so that doesn't happen again. But in the meantime, I'm all for it. I move to approve.
Motion to approve the 2025 Christmas Fund Program made by Shane. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Tara. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Thanks, Kim. Next.
Kim, can you make sure that you heavily recruit for that and show results? I mean, I know you show it right here, how much do I want to save in that, you know, graphic that you have there.
Yeah.
But really show, you know, how much someone can, how this can benefit each employee.
I'm thinking there was one person that was, you know, I'm going to go back to that person and ask if they'll write like a testimonial, you know, because it's really kind of cool to see someone so appreciative in that, and maybe they could help us in recruit.
The reason I say that is because if somebody, if somebody's contribution, somebody at a lower level can do a contribution, they're getting the same as somebody who, if somebody has a higher salary, you know, even if they put, the higher salaried person puts more in, we're only matching this much. So that's what I mean is compared to COLA. Okay, now COLA with somebody with a high salary, they would get a high benefit. Somebody with a low salary would get a lower benefit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of giving somebody with a moderate salary a little bit more, you know, oomph to have savings.
That was one of the issues with COLA, is because like the council would say 3.5% across the board. So people with high salaries were getting 3.5% of a high salary, and a frontline worker was getting 3.5% of minimum wage. That was some of the, you know, discussions we've had around COLA and stuff.
We did bring this up to the HR networking, the HR Tribal Networking Conference. HR went down to White Earth, I believe it was about a month ago, and we were discussing different benefits. Now this is tribal government versus, and enterprises, so casinos. And so we had little round tables, and so I brought this up at there, and they were very impressed with Voice Forth that our tribal council does this. I had to pull up the email from way last year from Mary to show them, like, do you want to know the rules? Do you want to know, you know, they were really impressed, and hopefully took what we are doing back to their organizations to put that into play for their staff as well. So they were impressed with us.
Great, good, wonderful. Okay, renewal of Laserfish subscription.
Laserfish is our online application process. Various programs use it and stuff, so we do need it renewed. The total for the next year is $61,902.99. We did, you know, and it has a lot of our documents in there from like the COVID applications and stuff, and like the HAF program is in there, the ERA, and so we're going through those audit periods, so we do need to keep it open.
And Kim, this gets paid out of what budget?
This will be paid out of indirect costs.
That's
now.
what I thought.
We had paid, the last 2 years, we had paid out of ARPA.
Okay.
Didn't we just approve something like this a while ago?
That was DocuSign probably, maybe you're thinking of.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, they're close in renewal dates, you know, like within 2 months of each other.
I have a couple questions about Laserfish. I know it has a lot of our applications and all that in there for the programs that we were asking for, like the ARPA payments and all that kind of thing. what other kinds of, or do we need a whole separate system to be fully online here, to make payments for your rent, to make payments for your water and sand online, to make payments for anything, you know? I know we can do it through withdrawal of our payroll, you know, but when can we get that done?
That is coming in our new the new ERP system, Enterprise Resource Program, by Tyler Technologies, and the software is called Munis. And so they'll be able to look at their account and make a payment with the credit card on there. And that is, I think, is it January 1st, 2026 is when we'll be rolling out that system, and then we'll be working through, it'll be all new to us, so we're just skipping 30 years of technology.
Would that make this Laserfiche obsolete then?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. They may talk to each other, but I would have to research more to see if Munis has online application where you design and they apply for a program. Good
okay,
question,
thanks.
though. Yeah.
This question is for Kim Greiner and Terry Giesick, our Secretary Treasurer, our CFO. Since we're talking about all this funding and this money, we talked about being transparent. Where are we at financially? Because we talk about accountability, we talk about responsibility and fiscal, doing what's right fiscally. Where are we at, please?
Okay. I can't give you a number off my head, and part of one of the two biggest problems is we're behind on audits, and two, our software system doesn't roll it up for a quick, easy, simple answer. We are going to have, at the senior management meeting yesterday, everybody's supposed to have their budgets done by the end of December, and then we'll have information for you.
Can we set a deadline for this? Because I think this is going into this next year. I'm looking at all four of you. We need to tackle this right now. I'm not joking. You know, you can take it as a joke. You can take it as it's not serious. But it's time to turn a new page and a new leaf. One other thing, every 2-3 months, Michael LaRock, president of the MCT, provides White Earth a financial report. They always know where they're at. When Eugene Summers, one of my good friends, wants to fund something or a project, he goes to Mike. He knows where they're at. I can't do that now with Tara or because we don't know where we're at. I'm sorry, I'm just a little frustrated. I'm a little agitated. I mean, I'm sorry it's Christmas and I shouldn't be doing this right now, but this is very, very important. And I see Darren Langren has a question or a comment on the screen.
Darren, do you have a comment?
Yeah, he just said, what agenda topic are we addressing?
The
Chairperson needs
Laserfiche.
to stop this and add it to the next agenda.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Perry.
Sorry for getting off the agenda too, I apologize, sorry.
I know that this has been an ongoing issue for, I think, since the pandemic. And, excuse me. And I know that the council's been meeting with Kim with regards to the audits, and I believe we're getting caught up. It's just a matter of time. But we can set up a meeting, Perry, to go over the financials and stuff. I think once the budgets are in, plus the closeouts for the programs also help to know if there's carryover funding or if a program is, you know, short funding or whatever. Those closeouts happen September 30 on a lot of the programs. So I think once they can close those out and end of December would be a good time, January maybe, for this meeting, January.
And then just to address Darren's question about what we were talking about, they want to spend $60,000 on Laserfiche, but we're not behind. We're behind on our audits. That's the concern for that item we're talking about. Sorry, Darren.
That's okay.
No, it's a very valid concern.
Thank you.
I just want to make a statement since my name has been brought up in my position, and I'll just let everybody know. I have been on our CFO almost constantly to get these done. And it was brought up in past RTC meetings that we're only behind 2 years. We're not. It was 2018 and 19 when it first started going behind, that we were behind in our audits.
Yep, I went through that at the previous meeting where we started to slide.
So my first act when I got on was to get on those audits and complete them. We haven't only been meeting with Kim. We've been meeting with the help that we've brought Kim, other audit firms. We've been learning about audits. Everybody's been learning. So this is the most advancement that we've seen in the past couple years. But I would say it's still not fast enough. So hopefully with this new software, we'll get back on track.
Yeah. And I know we keep talking about the new software. The other thing is that with the new software, the tribal council will have a dashboard and they can drill down and look at real-time information. That's a huge, you know, like when I said we're jumping 30 years of technology, we are really jumping 30 years.
But I also want to make sure that our new software doesn't only hold information from the implementation date.
Yeah.
Let's say we started January 2025, which I know we're not going to, that it only holds that and then going forward. That's why I said we cannot get, if that's the plan, then that's not going to work. It has to have everything that we have from beforehand too. Because I know that, or I suspect that that's where we lost a lot of money before I got here.
Yeah. There's a certain amount that they recommend bringing over, but not all 30 years of data. So, and that's in the software planning when we get more into the conversion side. On the software, we're doing the human resources information system first, which we don't have one right now. And so we're getting that up and going first.
Getting back to the Laserfish, can we see what programs are actually utilizing Laserfish? Miranda, can you ask the senior management? And what applications are actually being used? Because this can be a great tool, but I just don't think it's being fully utilized. Because I think like even, and I'm not sure what's been put on Laserfish or not, but applications for elders, applications for energy, applications for healthcare, applications for whatever, but I just like to see how many programs are utilizing it, and because I know it's a tough system. Is it a tough system to put in, or can be?
Well, we have support too with it, you know, because we get support. So like if you have an application and you know your process, you can work with them and they'll help you design it, because like it comes, like an application comes in and it gets routed based on certain answers.
Okay.
So you have to know your workflow.
Okay.
You know, I always explain it. You have a blank sheet of paper. You have to tell the piece of paper where to go.
Okay.
And so you have to be able to, you know, articulate that to the designer.
Okay.
But then it's really nice though to go back and look at it. And I don't know if I've shown this particular council, but we did a survey in there during ARPA and how you can go in and download all that. You can get it. You can get all the answers. You can get all the. You can get graphs, you know, of certain things. It's just people having time and taking the effort to utilize it. Yeah, and we don't have the IT staff to help us either. You know. Yeah.
Vonda Lee.
Yeah. So I don't want to be a non-advocate of Laserfish, but I just want to share my experience. Back when I was in early childhood, which was back in 2022, we started working with Laserfish to convert our applications into Laserfish. It was an extreme process they didn't really work with us. They were not timely in responding. Since I've left, those applications have been converted to DocuSign, and coming into the position as 477, we were considering going to put our applications onto Laserfiche, but because we knew the process, we are working right now to with some individuals in our department to get our 477 intake form onto DocuSign, which is what early childhood ended up putting their applications into, because Laserfiche was it was complicated just to have that connection with them consistently. We also fell into that same situation with our energy assistance program and our CSBG program. So just not to be a non-advocate, but I do want to share our experience because, you know, we've always been questioned, why can't early childhood applications go online? Well, we started that process back in 2021, and when I left in 2022, there was still no connections with Laserfiche, and very, very little progress was made. So
one thing that happened too with Laserfiche, it was owned by two Mille Lacs band members, the place that we bought it from, and they have sold to a bigger company now. And so the transition, it's different, you know, the support. And then the lady that we really worked with a lot, her name was Lisa Johnson. She was really good at it, and she has since left. You know, they have employee turnover too. But we do need to keep it to get the information for at least one more year and work on getting the information out of there if we don't want to continue and we find a different product. Yep.
I would highly suggest that. I'm not impressed with Laserfiche. I tried to do several of our forms for land when I was DNR director back in 2020 and 2021. And Laserfiche was not compatible or sophisticated enough to do that for us. So, you know, approving 61,000 is a little tough for me, but you've already used that. You know, we're just paying on something that you've already used. So please find something else that is compatible with us and that all our programs can use, not just a few of our programs. And then also have, if there's any grant funding that can go towards a system like this that everybody uses, see if that can, if we can pay a portion of that with our grant funding, rather than complete 810. Thanks.
Yep, just a couple questions online. If you don't even know what the laser system is even being used for, how could you justify spending $60K on it? And does Kim believe this piece of software is worth it?
At this point, I believe it's worth it because we have some big audit items to get through, the large testing of the programs, of the HAF and the ERA programs, when they did all that online, and those are Treasury, and then going from there. I know for sure that the ARPA and the CARES Act programs had used them quite heavily in all the applications, you know, that we, for quick turnaround time, and I know Nikki uses it, does her own forms and uses it for various things. Beyond that, I haven't had, just because of my workload, I haven't like dug through to see who's using it and who's not using it.
So maybe what we can do here is let's do a motion to approve the renewal of Laserfiche subscription for 1 year. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Do you have a question?
Well, I just wanted to point out a couple of things, actually 3 things. You know, with the new software coming up that we're talking about is that we need to put all the data in there to bring all the accounts current, whether it be housing, rent, whatever, and so that when we move forward, we don't have any more problems.
Yep.
That's just something I want to bring up. The other thing too is regarding, I brought this up, excuse me, numerous times, is about direct deposit for per capita checks. And band members have been bringing it up to me on my group page, and that's something I think that we really need to get moving on, is direct deposit for our band members. Simple.
Yep.
Now, regarding the new software and the audits is that once we start to implement the new software, they must not impede or hinder the audits. The audits need to be the primary focus because we're losing funding because of that, because we're behind on the audits and our programs are losing funding. So we need to keep on those audits, and that needs to be the main focus in my book. Thank you.
I'll address all three. So the first one about the accounts receivable stuff, we had an extensive discussion yesterday at the senior management meeting. We have 2 deadlines to work on that because one is the like the utilities. We don't, like one of our flaws as an organization, we don't have a list of like all our buildings, not our tribal buildings, but all buildings, residents and stuff who are on our system. So like, and who should be billed for what for that. So that's one deadline we set. And the other one is to reconcile, to work with, the programs have to work with some accounting staff to reconcile some questionable accounts to clean them up. So we had discussed that yesterday. The second thing about the direct deposit, our current system does not have a secure way of doing vendor check, like an accounts payable, a vendor check versus payroll. But we don't have a secure way of doing the direct deposit for per capitas. But our new system will allow vendors to have, we can set it up. So that's going to be in the new system already, because that was one of the requirements. Remember when CLA came here and asked, it's on there as one of the things. And then the third thing about catching up on audits, I've been working on software, and Vanessa, as the comptroller, has been doing audit stuff. And I believe they're going to start doing field work next week. We've been uploading a lot of stuff. And so we're getting farther along with that. So we're working on the backlogs. And in January, accounting will finally be fully staffed.
Okay, getting back to Laserfish. The renewal of the Laserfish subscription, I like the discussion, and I agree that I think we need to look at the utilization of it, and the it sounds like it's very complex for me. But what we can do is we can do the renewal for Laserfish for 1 year, and then in the meantime, during that 1 year time period, let's look at what other options are available, whether it be DocuSign or whatever, another way of getting our information out, because I think it's important that we have these applications online. I feel it's important to have the tribal members have access to whatever services they may want in that application process. Laserfish did work well with our ARPA and CARES Act, but now we have to kind of, I think, find a better way of doing things. And so maybe if we just renew this for 1 year, and then we look at, have the departments take a look at what they're using and what they're not using, and then maybe if we could do some research on what might be able to be a better option for voice for it. So do I have that in a motion? Don't ask me to repeat it.
Can you repeat that?
No.
Move.
Motion to approve made by Shane. Is there a second?
I object.
Wait, you can say no when we do the roll call. Motion made by Shane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? One opposed. Silent? Motion carried. Okay, thanks, Kim. Next we have Randy Long. I thought that said Obi Kenobi on that. Sole source request to know before for software at Fortune Bay from BIA Cybersecurity Funds. Good morning, Randy.
Morning, everyone. I'm requesting the council approve the purchase of 300 additional licenses to our existing known before software for Fortune Bay. The software, it provides cybersecurity measures and or phishing email protection for the casino and for the tribal government. We've maintained this software since April, and so far it's proven to be highly successful in blocking unwanted emails and cybersecurity attacks. The funding for this will come from our BIA cybersecurity funding. I've had Kim reach out in the past week, and they have granted us permission to take this funding from the BIA and extend it toward the casino operations.
Okay, good. Good.
This purchase of the software will be good for a 3-year term.
Okay. Cybersecurity, it's very scary out there nowadays with scams and everything else going on. So
And very important.
very much so. I like the 3-year term. Is that $32,796.40 each year, Randy?
No, that's for all 3 years.
That's for all 3 years. Thank you. Any questions for Randy?
I see we have some of our Fortune Bay staff back there, and I see one of them smiling just big because he knows he doesn't have to pay for this one. I move to approve.
Motion to approve made by Shane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tara. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Good job, Randy.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Much needed. Next, we have Rhiannon Strong with Head Start eligibility criteria. Is she on? Good morning, Rhiannon. Can you hear us? There you are.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm just here today with the eligibility criteria for Head Start. It was
Okay,
supposed to
go
be
ahead.
included in last month, and it just got missed somehow. It went through legal and everything already, and it's good to go.
Okay, so it was just something that was missed last time, and now you just put it back on.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
Any questions for Rhiannon? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the Head Start eligibility criteria?
Move.
Moved by Shane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Perry, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Good job, Rhiannon.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good day.
You too.
Next, we have Terry Morrison for a contract agreement with Blue Cross Blue Shield for fiscal year 2025, calendar year, contract year.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
This is a service agreement from Blue Cross Blue Shield. They don't do grants, so it's a different wording.
Oh.
So they're paying us for the services that we're doing.
Okay.
So it's $160,000. It supports 2 staff people at 50% and some supervision time, programming and events mainly focused around traditional tobacco, and referrals, working with SUDS for cessation services, that kind of stuff.
Okay. And I think this is the Blue Cross Blue Shield program does do a lot of tobacco cessation, and because they want to try to prevent a lot of the issues that come with commercial tobacco.
And a lot of it is like policy development. You'll see that part of it is working with HR to get vapes added to our no smoking policy. We plan on purchasing some new signage around the reservation for the government buildings for the 50 feet, no smoking within 50 feet resolution that we already have, or not resolution.
Ordinance?
Yes,
Ordinance?
through the court, yep.
Okay. Any questions for Terry?
My question is, did Jeff get a chance to review this? And if so, any concerns?
Yes, he reviewed it, and no, he had no concerns.
Jeff?
Yeah, I did take a look at it, and this is a second statement of work that refers back to a main service agreement that the band has with Blue Cross, and we worked in and reviewed that, made sure there was no waiver of immunity and things like that, so I don't have any concerns about this.
Sorry. If none, I'll call for a motion to approve the contract agreement or service agreement with Blue Cross Blue Shield for contract year 2025 in the amount of $160,000.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Tara, second by Shane. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Good job, Terry. Keep up the good work. Next, we have Teresa Drift with resolution number 48-2025, approving 2025 PIT count and authorizing sharing of PIT count date with St. Louis County and Northeast Continuum of Cares. First, that's a lot in that first sentence. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. I also have Sarah.
Yes,
with
see
me.
that. Welcome, Sarah.
We've got a few things. So the first, we have the resolution for the PIT count. So PIT stands for point in time. And this is one of the ways that we monitor the homeless populations throughout the state of Minnesota. It's actually mandated by HUD for some of the funding that we have for our homeless programs. We've been doing this for a number of years. This resolution just lays out that we're going to share data with St. Louis County, as we have previously, but that the tribe retains the rights to the data.
Okay. Any questions for Teresa on the first item?
What do they use the PIT data for, St. Louis County?
So we have a grant through St. Louis County. It used to be called Shelter Plus Care. It's a HUD grant. It used to pay for subsidies for housing at New Moon. That's the whole thing. HUD said, no, tribes can't do that. So now it's paying for salary for one of our staff or two of our staff. But it's a grant we get through St. Louis County. So it's a HUD funded grant. So sorry, let me tell you, I have a little sheet to tell you what they use it for. So they use the PIT and HIC, which is a bed count that they do. We have to have those numbers to, it's part of the scoring for that grant so that we get that continued funding. So it helps provide, demonstrate the need on the reservation.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that they don't use that information in the detriment of Boys Fort on the reservation, because often homelessness, you'll be on the reservation, next month you'll be over in Virginia, Mountain Iron, wherever, and tracking and taking away services from the band or taking away services when they're anywhere within Minnesota. I just wanted to make sure that they're not using that data for that purpose. Thanks.
No. St. Louis County has been excellent in honoring tribal sovereignty and not doing those kinds of practices. So they've been a very good partner for a long time.
May I ask, Teresa, how do you collect this data? Is it through survey or how is it done?
Yep, so we do a survey. I don't remember the date off the top of my head, sorry. It's usually in the end of January. And then we go and find the folks that are maybe living rough or if we have them in the shelter, and then we just do a brief survey with them. So, and now that we have more staff, it'll be easier for us to get everybody. So we might have different data than we have in previous years.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments for Teresa on the first resolution for approving the 2025 PIT count and authorizing sharing of the data with St. Louis County and Northeast Continuum of Cares?
I have one question for Jeff or maybe Dan. Any concerns with data privacy or HIPAA rules? No concerns? I move to approve.
Oh, motion by Shane to approve resolution 48-2025. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Tara. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Silent. Motion carried. Okay, next we have update on housing stability programs.
Want me to do it?
That's you.
Good morning. Okay, so we are really excited because we are almost fully staffed. So we do have the staff members in Minneapolis, in Duluth,
We have 2 intake coordinators, and so moving forward, folks can call New Moon or they can call, Human Services Office up in Net Lake. They'll be able to do an intake, and then they'll be assigned a case manager afterwards. So that's the best part. And then my update is on Youth Prize. We're moving forward with Youth Prize. We had 53 submissions. 2 of them must have been very excited because they applied twice. So actually we have 51. And we are screening every single applicant, and then they will be put into a random selection. We have 10 slots in northern St. Louis County, 10 slots in southern, and 10 in Hennepin County. This has been a very exciting process to meet the young people. This generation is excited to learn more about becoming adults. And one thing that caught me not by surprise, but I was more excited for too, was that they want to learn more about cultural healing. And so I talked to Jenna Lee Porter this morning, so we're going to work on that. This program is designed to be whole person, and we're going to do our best to take care of our young people. They will have case management. We did put that in there now that they do have to check in with us once a month. That's the best way for us to receive the data. So that's what I have for you. Do we have any other updates? I don't think so. Yep. She has one more resolution for you too.
Yep. I have one question on your applicants' Youth Prize. Yes. You said 51 applicants and there's 30 slots.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yes.
And then a screening product or a screen process.
Yes.
Can that 30 slots be interchangeable? Let's say, your 25th applicant was, they did their first year and then their second year they moved to, I don't know, California. Can you fill that? Can you always have 30 slots?
We're going to hold the 30 slots because the funding is there, according to Youth Prize, because they're the ones that are going to do the direct cash transfer payments. So another exciting thing I forgot to mention with the 30 slots, if they do not make our 30 slots, Lutheran Social Services wants to put them in their round of folks and do the random selection. So they have 2 chances to get in. We just found that out yesterday, so we're very excited for that.
Very good, thanks.
Yes.
On a personal note for me, as a council member, when I get band members reaching out to me and I refer them to you ladies, and you ladies are always responsive, and I'd like to say thank you for doing that. What you guys do, what you ladies do, and how you respond in a timely manner. Thank you.
And it's nice to hear you're fully staffed.
Well, not quite, but we're getting there.
Well, I know, but you're close. You're that close.
we're
But I
close.
mean, it's hard to provide the services when we don't have the people to provide them.
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad to hear that you're almost there with full staff and also providing those services in the Duluth and Minneapolis urban areas.
Mhm.
That's really important. So gee McWitch for that.
Yeah, and I just want to say that our staff that we've added in the last few months, we've had good staff, kind of all along, but the new folks that we've brought on in the last 3 months, it's just been 3 months, have been fantastic.
Good.
Go-getters, excited to do the work, empathetic, really good with clients. It's really exciting to see them.
Wonderful.
Go ahead and go. So
Good to hear.
It's exciting.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that update. Next, we have Resolution 49-2025.
Yep, and this resolution is similar to the one with St. Louis County, but this is the one with the Minnesota Tribal Collaborative. So, but it's the same data, it's the same information, and this is, so the Minnesota, you remember Jane Lawrence came and spoke a couple of meetings ago about the Tribal Collaborative is working to become its own COC. So then any COC related funding that we have, which would be that HUD grant that I spoke about earlier, would then go through the Minnesota Tribal Collaborative instead of through St. Louis County, which hopefully will reverse the whole tribes can't administer, anyway, that's what, administer rental subsidies, which is a whole thing. So.
Got it, Therese. Okay, any questions on Resolution 49-2025?
Just the same question I had before for Dan. No concerns with confidentiality or HIPAA? Move to approve.
Motion to approve Resolution 4. I've made by Shane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Good job, ladies. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Janelle Gogolai with the approval of Amerind insurance policy for calendar year 2025. Good morning, Janelle.
Good morning. Is this thing ready here? Yeah?
Yeah, it's on. We're ready.
Okay. I have a request for approval for the Amerind insurance for the policy period of January 1, 2025 to January 1, 2026. And the amount is $64,345. And
go ahead.
Jeff has looked at this for me as well. What this policy will cover in terms of homes is the commercial property, the senior assisted living center, the elderly housing units in Vermilion, Net Lake, and Pineview, New Moon supportive housing. It covers all the low rent units in Net Lake and Vermilion, as well as single family dwellings, the unit at Leander Road, the 3 tiny homes, and there's some RTC owned homes that are covered in here as well. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. And then the Cedar Grove units and the Net Lake duplexes. So all of that comes under this one policy. And each program, like, I don't know, they'll say the RTC owned homes, that's billed out to those individual programs. The tax credit 1, 2, and 3 are not in this policy because there's a separate policy for them with a different policy number and policy dates.
Any questions for Janelle on the Amerind insurance policy? And this comes out of your budget?
Yes.
Correct? Mm-hmm. Hearing no questions, do we have a motion to approve the Amerind insurance policy for calendar year 2025 in the amount of $64,345?
Move to approve.
Moved by Tara. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Good job,
thank you.
Janelle. Keep up the good work. Next, we have Doris Isham with SRF Master Contract Amendment. Good morning, Doris.
Good morning. I have for your consideration a contract amendment to our SRF contract. And it was reviewed by legal counsel, and he's okay with it. Basically, I didn't bring my glasses. Basically, the amendment would include the ability to use SRF in the design and planning of projects in addition to the grant writing services. The reasons why I propose this is because the grant writer is most familiar with a project because they develop the grant. And so when a project becomes available, it would be easier to move on to the design and planning stage for implementation. And so that would be more efficient rather than putting it out for an RFP and soliciting another contractor to do the implementation project. The other reason is that a lot of times there's not a lot of people that respond to our RFPs. And more, we have in the past contracted with people from out of state. And with SRF being in the state and familiar with tribes and our area, you know, I feel would know best about what goes into developing roads, and they know about the makeup of the land, such as allotment land, the checkerboard land ownership and all that stuff. And and so I just feel this would be more a more efficient way to go is to include this together with the grant writing, the planning and the design. Jeff, do you have anything to add?
No, just maybe a quick explanation. The amendment just adds some language to the project and services description in the master agreement that basically says that as an extension of the grant writing services, SRF will provide planning and design services. So that expanded scope of work is connected back to those grant writing services that they were initially procured for. And that was kind of intentional to make sure that, you know, the original procurement sort of was connected to this additional work as well, if that makes sense. So the amendment itself is pretty limited, but otherwise I don't have any concerns.
Carol?
I just wanted to mention too that I had contacted SRF to find out what they would charge us to write the paper grant for the Big Woods Transit Building, and that's a $9.1 million project. That needs to be submitted and approved by the end of this month in order for us to get that funding, and then if it wasn't, we lose out on $9.5 million. When I contacted them, they did some contacting. They contacted the Minnesota Department of Transportation, and they had a TA agreement with them, and so they wrote it for us without charging, and it originally was going to cost us about $8,000 for them to write that paper grant. And so now we got it for free, and it has been submitted to FTA. So we're just waiting on their review and approval. So just to let you know that they do work with us, and one of them is a White Earth Band member that works with us very closely. Okay.
Thank you, Carol. I know that you girls have been very busy in community planning and development and grant writing and everything, and it's nice to have SRF on hand to provide those other services. We were kind of wondering about the transit building with that paper grant, and you know, so there's a lot of technical assistance too that they can provide. So I think it sounds like a win-win for me because they've been very open and helping us. So I really like that.
Yeah, they've been very, very helpful in different situations.
Any other questions for Doris on the SRF master contract amendment?
Yes, you know, for the grant writing services that we're contracting for, it'd be nice to see the data for the number of grants that they applied for, the number of grants that they got, and the number of grants they didn't get. That'd be good to see, just to have that data on hand. Thank you.
I can provide that.
Thank you, Doris. If no other questions or comments, do we have a motion to approve the SRF master contract amendment?
Move.
Moved by Shane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robert. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Good job, Doris. Thank you. Okay, next we have Mr. Shane Drift.
Yes, I asked for a financial update on the tribes dispensary. I know that the information was sent to Kim, so Kim, if you want to take over the helm.
Surprise! No.
Share my screen if you want it up on
That would be good. Good morning, Brad. Good morning again, Kim.
because I'm logged into the meeting, I can pull it up. And that would be the email you sent the other day.
Yes.
Just let me find it.
You got it?
Yeah, it's just opening.
Okay.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. Am I still in the meeting, Nikki, or did I exit? Okay, I'll get back in. And then I just need to be able to share. Okay. I'm making it, I'm getting there.
And these numbers represent the total amounts paid through last week, through last Friday. There have been a few more invoices that have come through earlier this week. Notably, some of the security and surveillance ones, which came to, I think, just under 40,000. Just signed one this morning for just under 1,000. And I've, have not been really involved in the day-to-day stuff. It's just the billing and stuff that has come through me. So
I'm just trying to make it bigger for the council to see.
And this does not include the information that Kim had sent previously that the tribal government has paid, the 7,000.
On this sheet, there's a handful of items that Randy has used out of his stock that has to be replaced. So that's 7,417. That's, so this is the cost of the today of where, yeah. Other than our stock that Randy used of his IT equipment, we did send the $600,000 funding check over to Fortune Bay. Other than that, other than, the split of the regulatory, which is different, I don't have any numbers.
Okay, for the audience's information, all the funding for the dispensary has come, basically, a majority has come out of the aid to tribal government dollars, which is non-restrictive. And that's from the state of Minnesota. That was the $600,000 that Kim just mentioned. We cannot use ARPA funding, we cannot use any federal funds, and we cannot use any casino funds for this venture. So it's been trying to find those unrestricted funds to fund this project. So it looks like the biggest expense was the building for 300, I can't see that far, 300 some thousand.
339.
Okay, but this is what's been spent to date with that.
What about the pot of money that the Y store has set aside? My understanding is that they've been dipping into that as well to help with this project. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, all of this has been paid with the Y-Store fund so far.
Now, I know that with this money that's being used from the Y store, part of money is that we as a council have all said it at one time or another, is that once a dispensary starts to become profitable, that it repays that money back. This is not, we did not get a loan for this dispensary. I just want to make that clear. This is not a loan. We're taking money from the unrestricted funds that Cathy talked about, and also the YSTAR funds that the money's been sitting aside there, using it for this, to get this going. And that they're keeping an eye on how much money is being spent, and that's how much the dispensary is going to have to pay back once it starts making a profit.
And we're hoping to get the dispensary up and running now that we have Sadie Whitebird on. The compliance regulatory is actually what's holding up the process right now, because we need to be licensed by ourselves through this regulatory. And that's what's holding up, is the license, plus the employees also need to be licensed at the same also. So, and there's background checks and all of that. So hopefully soon, now that we have Sadie on board to complete the regulation process and the licensure, then we can be up and running. So that's just one of the stumbling blocks we ran into.
I think, with that, with Sadie coming on board and now everything is in place, I'm hoping that at some point in time we'll be able to set a opening date or even a soft opening date and say, hey, this is when we're going to open. Here we go.
Any other comments or questions on the financial update?
Oh, I can look it up, but yeah. It said, did CNC Winger have a cost for civil site work? And I believe that's in there, isn't it? Or haven't they not built this yet?
Yeah, it may not have been billed yet.
Well, as we probably know, there's going to be some bills rolling in every day with things that need to be completed. So thank you, Jim, for that question. Any other questions or comments regarding the dispensary?
I would just like to say thank you, too, for coming up and basically giving us an update financially on the cannabis. Thank you.
G. Miigwech, thank you very much. Seeing no other business, do we have a motion to adjourn at 11:08? Moved by Robert. Is there a second? Oh,
Sorry.
second by Tara. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Thank you, everybody, for attending the meeting today, either online or in person, and we wish you well and be safe. It's getting cold out. The winter has come, and it's not going to be like last year. Oh, yep. Yes, and the distribution of the $650 will be sent out, or has been sent out. It's in the mail. So please be patient. We have no control over the U.S. mail, and the checks cannot be forwarded. So if you're not at that address, your check will probably end up coming back here, because they will not forward the ARPA checks that are coming out. So maybe look for on Friday. If not Friday, it's Saturday. And if not Saturday, Monday. If not Monday, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, all right. Thank you very much, everybody. Giga Wabaman, have a good day.